All right, we got a good one today from touring with Ron Jeremy running XXXChurch to launching the first ever Christian cannabis company. We got Craig Gross. Stay tuned. Hey, what's going on? My name is Ruslan, hip-hop artist, creative entrepreneur with KingsDreamENT.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to all the Patreons supporting this channel, making this whole thing happen, keeping the lights on. If you'd like to tune in, get the interviews, the full interviews earlier, you could do that. But today, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I have one of the most interesting people in the Christian space that I've ever came across. Creative, entrepreneur, cannabis activist. This man has done it all. Craig Gross. I'm not going to call you pastor. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm trying to catch how quick you were on that intro.
You like that?
Yeah.
I don't practice that. Hey, so we're in Orange County. Beautiful, beautiful space. Thank you for letting us do this. I first stumbled across you. It was the Rock Church was doing this tour with you and Ron Jeremy, who's a famous porn star, and you were doing the XXXChurch thing. I heard the XXXChurch, and I remember like sneaking in, like there was like at capacity 3,500 people, and I like snuck around the back, got in, sat there, and I watched you have this very cool and civil conversation with Ron Jeremy, who's a famous porn star, and you guys fundamentally disagreed on just about everything in regards to porn. What was that time like? Because that was very interesting when you guys did that tour across churches and just were brutally honest with each other.
Yeah, it's man, Ron's a great friend, and it's funny because he says, we're just alike, and his famous line is, Craig's had sex with his wife 5,000 times, I've had sex with 5,000 people. It's just, it's the same. And I was like, no, it can't be further opposite. Like and even on the bus once, he was talking to my wife, like, you don't ever get bored with Craig? I was like, stop this, Ron. And he's
violation,
like,
Ron.
He's just like, why wouldn't you bring another partner? And then I was like, Ron, think about this for a second. Have you ever been in love with somebody to the point of like having sex in that way where it's not just this cheap fast food type,
right.
And
he's like what's that?
And it's just like you're telling me, well, I heard it gets boring, I'm monogamous, and that can't work. But it's like, dude, you've never been in love, you've never had sex like I have. And man, I met Ron years ago at a porn show because of the work with XXXChurch. And when we got asked to do a debate, it was just, I've never taken a debate class, and I never wanted to debate somebody and be like an enemy. And it was just like, and that would just, I don't know, it wouldn't be worth it to me. But it was like, if we could be friends. And so I didn't know how it would work. I've done 100 of them since. So I pick Ron up at his house. We drive to the airport. I call him 100 times literally before I get there because he wake him up and he's always late. Like I'm also like not the chauffeur, babysitter, driver. It's just like, and then we literally go fly all day and we pull into an event. Whether it's most of the time they've been at colleges. We've only done 2 churches.
Okay, so I was at one of the few churches.
Oh, no, churches.
Wow.
Churches want to talk to the porn star when they become a Christian, they get saved, and they have this miraculous story.
Right.
Then we'll interview them. But when they're in the middle, or like when you're just friends, and it's like, well, is he saved yet? It's like, why would we bring him in?
Right.
Because it'll bring people in, and it will also show, I think, as much as we're not alike in the sex department, we're not that far off as human beings. And Ron's maybe a lot closer with his, this guy's been around Christians his whole life. And I love the perspective that we can both bring. And if we actually think human beings that are sitting in church are smart enough to go, all right, the guy in Crocs that's had sex with 5,000 women, it might be nice to be that guy for like a night. But like, a guy with 2 kids and marriage for 20 years, I think most people can, like even Ron's like, he wants part of my life. Like there's nights where you're like, sure, that would be fun. But it's been fun to just get to know him. And the very first time we ever got to debate was at Boston College. And I remember I told my wife, I'm like, I don't know how it's going to go. I got to just make this up. And Ron's never on the attack. And so for me, we drive in, he ducks. So it's kind of like WWE wrestling. And he's like, I don't want people to see us that we're friends. And it's like, well, I want people to see that we're friends. And so that first night I was like, Ron, I got a friend in town. he'd love to buy us dinner. Yeah. And I realized after night one, to get Ron to go anywhere and hang out, you just offer to buy. Yeah. It's not that hard. Yeah. And then we're out till 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And so the debates, as we've gone to Australia, to Canada, I mean, every university, you can think of, it's been all those opportunities to, I got a friend coming. Oh, is he going to buy? Yeah, they're always, all my friends, they're always buy. Yeah.
And they're all Christians.
To more, more pastors around this country. I've heard more of Ron's, inappropriate jokes late at night, but also like, I have a great friend, pastor that sent me a photo the other day, and he's just like, man, miss this time. And that was a night that after Ron came back, wanted to watch a movie in her room, ends up falling asleep on the edge of the bed. And my buddy's like, what do you do with him now? And it's like, just, he looks exhausted. Let him sleep. But,
that's awesome.
The debate thing is just, it's been a fun thing to be able to share perspectives and reach a different audience. Yeah. But most churches were too scared to. Yeah.
Wow. Well, salute to Miles McPherson and The Rock, good friend of mine. On this channel, you're probably not super familiar with my content, but I've had one of my really close friends is an ex-Christian rapper turned atheist comedian. His name's Rufat Agaev, and I have him on regularly. And we've talked about miracles. We have all kinds of really interesting videos. And sometimes people are like, why would you have him on there? Like, why would you have him on your channel? Why would you give him a platform? I'm like, one, because he's hilarious. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's really funny. And then two, because I think it's important for people to see other people disagree and have civil conversation and be friends without, cussing and being angry at each other. And I think you guys demonstrated that really, really, really early, and I really appreciate that. And I didn't want to brush over this, but you talked about loosely, the guy who's been with 5,000 women and, versus the guy that's been with his wife and is married for 20 years and has 2 kids. The pragmatic part of our faith, right, that I think people overlook, that, man, following Jesus, I believe, is actually really in our best interest. Like, having principles that allow you to build a healthy life, a healthy family, a healthy experience on this side of eternity, to bring heaven on this side of eternity. I think people brush over that, but it could be probably one of the best, I guess, witnessing tools. And that even sounds weird saying that out loud. And so I like that you was, how much of that did he encounter in just watching your life?
Oh, I think there's a lot of it. If you Google or go on YouTube and type in Ron Jeremy loves worship music, it was just me driving to an event one day, and he's like, you know what I love doing is I love going to the House of Blues, like a gospel hour. He's like, it's great. And he gets into this whole rant. He falls asleep. I play some Chris Tomlin for him, and he's just like, yes. And, there's like Time Life things, info commercials at late at night with all the hits. He's just like, and then of course he's like, and there's always beautiful women on stage. So when I've taken him to church, I'm always like, hey, stop looking at the chicks. But I think it's, when Ron, there's another story. It ended up on Nightline. If you type in probably Ron Jeremy Craig, we've been on Nightline a lot, me and Ron. The whole debate, it was actually at Yale. It was covered on Nightline. But when Ron was told that he had a 30% chance he'd die because he had an aortic aneurysm, and he went for some chest pains to Cedars-Sinai. And that was, this was 10 years in our friendship. And there's been a lot of like, well, he should be saved now. Or it took us 5 years to find somebody in the adult industry that said, I want out and I want to come to the Lord. Wow. But before then, it's like, you guys are just going because you love porn. And, it's all the scorekeepers and the people on the sidelines. So this stuff takes time. And so with Ron, one night, it was a Monday night, and we had a debate on that next Monday. So normally he calls, literally, Ron Jeremy, hey, Craig, could you get a fax over to me? I was like, I'm faxing you. You're like, literally, faxes it? Like, and no wonder why you're late. And so I was like, hey, Ron, it's not till next week. And he's like, I'm at the hospital. And he says to me, how close are you still with the Lord? And I just made a joke because it was like, I don't know. We're tight. It was just like, it was like, I think we're good. And he's like, because I might die tonight. Really? He's like, I'm not ready for that. And he's like, would you pray for me? Wow. And it was one of those like, we prayed. And then I ended up at Cedars-Sinai all night with a friend of mine from the ministry. Talked to the doctor, came out, after the surgery, said, are you guys family? We're like, well, kind of. TMZ later was there and all the paparazzi. But at the moment where you think you might have a chance of dying, it's like, who...
You call your Christian friends.
Yeah, and I think his whole life, from Tammy Faye Baker to Sam Kinison and his family, like, there's been a lot of spiritual influence in him that, he was raised Jewish, but man, he's a friend. And I think
that's beautiful.
Beyond the different things like we talk about on stage don't really matter in the bigger picture of like, dude, you're willing to hop on a tour bus with me and my family for 7 days. Like we can hang. And you can see like I'm the same guy on stage as I am off stage. And
thank you for doing that, man. Cause I just think it demonstrated a lot to a lot of people. And I think, a question, and I don't want to stay on this topic too long, but a question is, it seems like when you started that they said porn generated more money than like the NFL and all major sports combined, but it seems like it's taken a huge hit recently. I haven't looked at the numbers, but that's what it appears like because of technology. Do you think that some of the work you guys did kind of helped that in terms of dismantling the typical industry of sorts, if you will?
No, I don't think, sadly, I don't think I don't think that's where our influence has been on numbers going down, because I think there's more people looking at porn today than ever before. There's less money because the industry's changed, and the ones that are keeping up are the ones that have gone online. Same thing, it's like, well, Tower Records is done. So's the music industry. It's like, no, look at Spotify, look at all the new ways. So the industry from when we got in, I remember the first porn show we'd ever been, and it's Jenna Jameson. It was like these big porn companies in the front of the room that you'd all kind of heard of, these big names. Now you go to these shows and it's setups like this that you've got, that it's like some girl from Kansas that's on a cam site, and the interaction and the different, it's not overproduced, it's live, it's niche, it's and there's a lot of it. And I think the players that are in this space now are the ones that know how to monetize the internet. And a lot of girls and a lot of guys in the industry don't need, just like this, you don't need anything but this setup to put your product to the market. So it's a lot. I mean, literally, I'll watch a company that are like, no one's ever heard of them. And then 3-4 years later, you see them at the booth, and they've got a 40 by 40 booth, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're the new players. And the industry is growing, and I think it's just changing. And then, the amount of people that don't think what they're even viewing now is porn, because it's like, oh, that's not porn, it's on Instagram. But it's like, sexual content on the internet is I think still driving a lot of the internet, but just in different,
in a different way. It's evolved. That's interesting.